Brenda, you want to just, maybe we just can start,
Yeah, well, I'll just
explaining
do a
how we're
quick,
going to operate today?
yeah, let's
Mm-hmm.
just do a quick intro. Hi everybody. I'm Brenna Crotty. I'm the senior editor here at CALYX. It is so exciting to see everybody's faces and actually get to hear you read your work aloud. For those who don't know, CALYX actually does have an audio project called The Voices of CALYX, and many of the readers this issue have sent in recordings of themselves reading music. A couple of people even to music. It's incredibly rad. Patricia Canright Smith and Tiffany Promise both had some really cool production on there. So check it out at our website. But we're going to have just like the live energy reading today. This is our very first CALYX live reading. We're really excited. A couple points of interest before we get going. If you are a writer and you write poetry, we are currently open for the Lois Cranston Memorial Poetry Prize, which is a competition we do every year with a rotating judge. This year's judge is Ellen Bass, so get in there. Yeah, we're incredibly excited to have her. We're coming up on our 50th anniversary in 2026, and some people that we've published over the last 50 years have really shown up for us. CALYX has a really long history. If you are new to CALYX, welcome. We are, as I said, a 50-year-old almost press dedicated to promoting the voices of women and non-binary writers and artists and interviewers and reviewers. And we have a biannual journal of art and literature, and you can subscribe to it here and get 2 issues of beautiful coffee table art and literature that is a good space for women and non-binary creatives' voices every year. And, you know, support the beautiful nonprofit work that has been going on here for 1,000 years. So I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, Jeannie, and she's going to explain sort of how this is going to go. We've got a lot of readers today, so we'll get moving. Feel free to be in the chat the whole time. When something moves you, put those emojis in there. I'll probably be putting in some context for the stuff we really loved when we got to read this the first time around. So thanks, everybody. Jeannie, over to you.
Thanks, Brenna. And yeah, and please pick out phrases you like. I think it's very heartwarming for people to know they're heard and the reading's heard. So use the chat as a way of community. I am honored to be co-hosting this beautiful volume of CALYX. I hope all of you have received. And the first CALYX Live. Super pumped. I was at AWP and had lots of folks stop by our table and just tell us that 20 years ago or 30 or even 40 years ago, they had the first poem published in CALYX. So I'm looking to all you and your longevity at writing literature. So I love that how we have CALYX has brought space to women's voice, and we're bringing it up a level by now helping you get your words kind of into the atmosphere and out into the world. Much needed today. So getting ready to share your voices. We're happy that many of you will be here to share your work. Because we have so many people here, in addition to kind of orchestrating this, I will be having the owner's job of being timekeeper. And so I've found a way to do this timer. And so what will happen is, all the readers know what time they've been allocated. When it's 20 seconds before their finish time, they'll hear this. Did you guys hear that? Yeah, it's a little cowbell. And then, and when the time is up, oh, chime, and then I'll take an inhale, and then I apologize in advance if I have to step on you to keep things moving on. But we have a very full agenda. We're hoping to wrap up in under time because we're I think we have a full agenda. I think it's like 76 minutes or something if everybody read back to back. And so we're looking forward to hearing everybody go. And we're just going to march right through the journal for people who are here. So if you have your journal, pick it up, and we'll try to put page numbers in the chat. We're going to start with Jessica on page 7. Jessica, over to you. You get to kick us off.
Hi, I'm so grateful to be here with you all today. I want to acknowledge the people on whose land I live, the Atfalati Kalapuyans, also known as the Tualatin Band of Kalapuyans, as the first inhabitants of Washington County here in Oregon. Today, their descendants are tribal members of Grand Ronde and Siletz tribes carrying on the traditions and cultures of their ancestors. And today I'm going to be reading my poem Echo, which won last year's Lois Cranston Memorial Prize. And I cannot wait to see who Ellen Bass finds out in the world. So, Echo. You don't know the part of the story where he left his reflection and came with me. I had to promise to tell him how small he was, the smallest I'd ever taken, how I wanted every other man more than I wanted him, how I was wanting them. As I fucked him, it hurt my stomach, though I did it until the end. I would check my face in any mirror I passed. How much of me had scattered. I never thought I'd leave until I realized it was okay if he only remembered me as a weight. Though we don't use the word mourn as much as we used to, I remember and do so carefully. His coffee-stained teeth, his shadowed spine, his voice calling, "What about me? What about what?"
Wow. Thank you, Jessica. Next up, we have Catherine. Everyone, again, please feel free to put in the chat thoughts for Jessica. Catherine?
Hi. Yes, thank you for organizing this reading. This is St. Elmo's Fire. Will switched on the wipers of her parents' gray Buick. She would make it to school in half the usual time. There was no one on the road, and even the houses looked empty as the clouds lowered like an Afghan made to suffocate you in your sleep. She wasn't nervous on account of the storm. She liked when nature bucked and humbled the living. It was the dress, weighting her thighs like an X-ray apron, that bothered her. It was the night to come. It was homecoming. Will hated dances, parties, concerts, and any occasion that expected her disinhibition, not because she needed to be in control, but because she dreaded the awkwardness of doing it in front of others, in conformity with others, for their reassurance and amusement. She shuddered to think of her vying peers and buttoned-up teachers suddenly, at the behest of Pitbull and Fruit Punch, swaying into unrecognizable bacchantes. It was cringy. It was weird. It was a loss of self-consciousness she wished for herself, but couldn't pull off, not with sniggering onlookers and live streaming. If she weren't the treasurer of student council, she would have skipped homecoming and binged Iron Man. She loved watching Tony Stark kick off the ground, annoyed and invincible as the world ended yet again. The athletic complex was empty. Will parked in front of the old gym and checked her crown in the visor mirror. The daisies were already sinking into her hair. Magnetized by their glaring whites and yellows, she picked them from the side of her driveway and braided them into her tawny mane. She licked her lips. She flipped up the visor and waited. Where was everyone? The dance started in 2 hours, 2.5 by the timeline of fashionable arrival, but the council reps and PTA moms were supposed to come early and set up. Watch them, Will thought, rubbing her knuckles. Watch them pull up with milky iced coffees 15 minutes before doors opened, and with a few careless flourishes make a fairyland out of the old gym. It would be a feat, given the 70s architecture and ingrained stenches. But Will liked crumbling places, endangered things. Since the erection of the new and formidable Voorhees Athletic Center next door, the old gym no longer hosted sporting events. Sinking into the hillside, it saw only school dances and the annual egg drop by the physics department. A heptagonal structure with sagging roof, it looked more like a giant crab than a coat and tie venue. But it was small. It hadn't the trophy rooms of the Voorhees Center, where students might sneak off during Stairway to Heaven and get into trouble. The PTA moms had a zero tolerance policy on trouble. They were clean fun only. Clean fun was service trips to rake leaves for the elderly. It was car washes to raise funds for the miniatures museum. It was seeing pipes at the water treatment plant and learning to shower in under 2 minutes to save water, perhaps for more car washes. Will had nothing against the PTA's wholesome intentions. but she wasn't sure how the soccer team's string bikinis achieved them. She reached into the center console to check the time and got only sticky change. She must have left her phone on the kitchen counter. What if someone had messaged the group chat to push the meeting time back, to postpone the dance? The afternoon forecast was scattered showers and gusts, with the clouds filled like bruises. The light retreated, flattening campus into the surrounding pines. A yellow-billed cuckoo speared in front of Will's windshield. Maybe the dance had been canceled. Maybe she was terribly, gloriously dressed up for no reason. She actually liked her dress, because she was wasting it on a school function. It was lace, long and heavy, the color of peeled almonds. The sleeves ended just shy of her wrists. The skirt brushed her ankles, revealing her beat-up flats, and the bodice gapped where she didn't fill it. But these faults endeared the dress to Will, made it equally dreamy and contentious. Another car turned into the lot. It was Jenny's BMW. Will hurried into the gym. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. I loved hearing your voice, and I know that, Jim. Wonderful. Now we're going to turn to page 21 and welcome Elizabeth.
Hi, everybody. I'm Elizabeth Adwin Edwards, and I'm going to be reading my poem, Coastal Acoustics, after Forrest Gander. The new year stormed in, taking an old pine with it. You moved a few splintered limbs off the path. The rest we climbed through, saw everything then. Cherry-hued mushrooms, fly agarics and rust gills having erupted with the spontaneity of kisses, and creamy pinwheels half-eaten, flung from their stems, lay with their labial folds exposed and rainful. From the last day of last year to the first of this next, lives already gathered and dispersed, cell by mote, by spore, by breath. When the forest opened up to the sea bluffs, frilled fleabanes purpling the path, common rush, sun-bloomed, our heads blown wild and open, the wind rang through us like shell song. What loneliness we'd felt, even in each other's company, swept out to sea. Thank you.
Wonderful, just beautiful. All that space. And if you have the book, you can see there's a lot of space inside the poem. Thanks so much, Elizabeth. Next up, page 22, Lalini's going to join us to read her two poems.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. I'm Lalini Shanela Ranaraja, and I'm going to be reading my two poems, Bleachers and Highly Complete. Bleachers. West-facing football field. Unlaced grass guarding our twin bed sheet, flying carpet, survival kit left over. My hair wet like henna, like a red flag unfurling, like jasmine in unzipped jeans. Granite pebbles multiplying, no matter how many we steal to skip stones that keep growing chain link, but you still know which gap the Harare boys used to sneak through, abandoning their bones. Beyond them, the lacquered lacrosse hockey turf, tethered to limbo by ley lines, sun floating level with the electric lights, 5-rupee coin, mescal daisy. You kiss my knee where it's peaching through carbonate rips, stubble crossing paths with the fuzz I judge tame enough by how many nights you slept over this month and how many times I said we need to stop. My toe hair corkscrews through my socks. Buddham sarang dachami wobbling from the speaker you found in the dumpster. Yellow jackets stalking the perimeter. Hard-boiled water petering through our fingers. You, let's go to the beach. You're from a landlocked mountain. I'm from an island burning on the equator. You've got an expired passport. I never learned to drive. Me. Anything you want, Ponyo, as the oil in your curls masks the cinnamon in mine. Highly complete. Is it too much to ask that the stone house stay anchored in the valley's elbow, your long hands pledging the white noise day, pledging old beloveds to the empty corner chair, and my feet stilling under the sill, doubling back for the library books, but choosing not to break your spell? And is it too much to ask that the sky stays light long past sunset, the slowest notes petering out, as I time my arrival to the moment you match kettle to stove because I said I'd be home for tea? And is it too much to ask that I say nothing about the keys played free of dust, only wear my fingers out on the lip of the mouth and watch the sky with you until one of us makes up our mind about dinner? And is it too much to ask that you laugh at my story of the impertinent student taken down a peg, because even now there will always be one? That I shiver beneath your fingers at the corner of my mouth, dabbing away the sauce? That the meal satisfies us, that there is enough left over for tomorrow? Is it too much to ask that we go to bed early, that we leave our windows open?
Beautiful. Thank you, Lalini. Is it too much to ask? Love it. Next up, Amanda.
Thank you all for having
There
me.
she is.
I enter into this space with so much gratitude. Thank you all for setting this up and for having me read. This poem is called Hierba Buena. She'd run her hands along the stem as if it were a braid of rosario. She'd cup our noses in the pocket of her palms so we'd take in the scent of chicle, that slight sting of clean. Sometimes deep in summer in her unair-conditioned house, we felt the mint carry ice to our knees folded on the couch where the TV pictured noticieros or baseball, and we listened to the undercurrent of chicharras singing. In my backyard, there is a corner of Hierba Buena, which is to say, of my grandmother. My children pick the leaves, rub their emerald silk, and absorb the soft wild of my grandmother, released by their fingers to visit our world. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Amanda. Thanks for sharing. Next up is Jane.
Hello. The best kind of extra. I still feel Leia's needs in my bones. When a florist delivery arrives containing lilies, my hand jumps to remove the blossom Leia was allergic to. When lilies emerge in June from the lot next to our apartment, I hear my wife's voice ask about her daughter as she always did. What should we get Lily for her birthday? On the other hand, when I hear an ambulance as I walk home, I catch myself praying it's not for her. Though she was 17 years older, I never thought I'd outlive her. Severe asthma had landed me in the hospital numerous times. Each day I lugged my 25-pound nebulizer to work. Before Leia, I had not been an optimist about my own life. Close to her death in 2021, she said, "When I die, you will have extra." "What do you mean, sweetheart?" I asked. She waited more beats than my heart had patience for. "Just extra," she said with a smirk. Leia and I first met in 1986 in Greenwich Village's LGBT Community Center when I, 39, was an assistant preschool teacher and an activist, and she, 57, a renowned midwife. I was there to invite members of Daffodil, Dykes and Fags, fighting for our own liberation and our own defense and for international liberation, to join an activist campaign against US military bombing exercises in Vieques. I noticed Leah, an older woman who was sitting on the edge of her seat, thick gray hair, expressive blue eyes. I shared my spiel. I could feel her beaming at me. After the meeting, I drew closer to the crowd around her. She turned to me and asked if I wanted to join them at a nearby diner. Yes. And at the diner, I successfully angled my way to sitting beside her. Leah shared that she'd been out for only 2 years. Before that, married to a man for 21. They had 5 children. Although that might give other lesbians pause, Leah embodied the 3 things I needed in a partner: willing to be monogamous, sure she was a lesbian, and like me, she lived an adventurous, interesting life. Despite our attraction, we said goodbye without making a move. A few weeks later, as I sat on a tiny second-story veranda in San Juan, Puerto Rico, after an anti-mining campaign, my host asked what I was thinking about. I really want to ask this woman out, I said. Then you'll do just that, she said. Tell me all about it. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thanks, Jane. Jane Spielman. Thanks for sharing. Next, we're going to turn to page 30. And Freda is going to share with us.
I am Freda. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. First thing, I want to acknowledge the CALYX Collective. Your abundant intelligence, your commitment to making good things the best they can be, your devotion to detail, your visions of expression. It's remarkable and it's most appreciated. So thank you, CALYX women. You're fantastic. The poem, She Loves Me, Flower Sounds. Frida Kahlo's epigraph, I paint flowers so they will not die. They sent me flowers the summer you died, as if more death was a consolation. I placed them in the hand-blown red and green vase in the center of our gold and rust tablecloth. I watered their waning thirst and later moved them to the white curtained windowsill. I've watched the petals dry out, lose their soft grip, and flutter down. She loves me. She loves me not. As another withered petal falls, she loves me and drops silently, the scent fading, then returning when the breeze is right. Brief and unexpected in kitchen corners where life still accumulates.
Thank you, Freda. Just love that. The life still accumulates. I love how the work in this journal talks to each other, and that's again a testament to the great work, Brenna, you and the editorial staff are doing, just to make this work sing to each other. Thank you so much, Freda.
Thank you.
Okay. Next we have Brenna reading from Landlord, page 49. We're doing a little jump here.
That's me, the other one. Okay, hi everyone. Thanks so much for having us. Thank you so much to the CALYX folks for putting this together. I am loving hearing all of your work. What a delight.
Mom, where's your screen?
Okay, I hid my screen. So this is Malcolm. We don't have any other parents with us tonight. So he's along for the ride.
All right.
Okay, so this is fiction. It's called Landlord. I hid my screen because I get distracted when my face is on the screen. Okay, this is called Landlord. Probably it was nothing. Probably Leanne had imagined the tapping sound, as she was always imagining things at work, according to her boss, slights and sexist overtones and being interrupted during meetings more than her male colleagues. Yes, Leanne was prone to dramatizing, to blowing things out of proportion. She was well aware of this by now. The noise was probably just a branch on the window. Except there it was again. It was not a large apartment, a coach house, the listing insisted, though really it was a converted garage. But just enough space for her, just exactly what she wanted. A big room for her bed and a few armchairs around an ottoman, a separate kitchen area where she kept an IKEA table and 3 chairs, a full bathroom, everything she needed now that she was on her own again. And the landlord had given her a good deal, had been surprised at the showing, she thought, that a woman her age was renting alone, had let her haggle him down on the price. A small victory. Leanne had wanted to test her muscle memory for charm, to see whether men still responded to her. Gratifying that the landlord did, a sense of relief. She would make it. She'd be fine. It was dark out, of course, past 9, the time of night Leanne sometimes got the heebie-jeebies when she was home alone, as she was now and forevermore, knitting a hat for her favorite nephew and listening to her favorite true crime podcast. She would have called the sound knocking, but it was much softer than knocking, though now, the third time, she was quite sure the sound was deliberate and that it was coming from her front door. She paused the podcast, set down her knitting, stepped a few paces to the door without passing the windows, which were covered in blinds and curtains, but which had the power to slice her open to the world, it seemed, all the same. She looked out the peephole, her heart hammering. The landlord. Oh, for goodness sake, she really was getting herself into a twist for nothing. Really did have to stop with all her true crime and murder mysteries. That's what her ex-husband had said, and maybe he'd been right. Maybe they were making her jumpy. Though it was a bit late for a landlord to come by. It's the person she used to be married to. He stood before her door, tapped again while she watched through the peephole. Maybe she would pretend to be out, pretend to be sleeping, pretend she hadn't heard anything. She somehow did not want to open the door for him, did not want to invite him into her space, which was also technically his space in which he'd been kind enough to cut her a deal on, but which he was supposed to give her 24 hours notice before entering, after all. He bent, pressed his face to his end of the peephole, pulled back, grinning. Leanne, he said, a soft sing-song, goosebumps on her neck. He looked off somehow. But no, she was being silly, a fishbowl lens, that was all. It was getting late and she was edgy from insomnia, from months of thin sleep. She was doing it again, looking for drama where none was. Nothing more natural than a landlord visiting his property. She unlocked the door, opened it a crack. Yes, she said. Mind if I step in? He said. Maybe 15 years her senior, rangy and graying, but not altogether unattractive. And that's where we'll end. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Malcolm. Yeah, I think the Lord in that landlord says it all. Thank you so much. Okay, now we're going to switch over to Wendy, who's going to read a couple poems for us on page 58. And I'm going to stop the timer. That was left over from last time. Okay.
Thank you so much. I'm so very happy to be here, and I love how many people are here, all these faces. Makes me so happy. And I'm just so honored to be in this issue with all of you. Okay, so I have 2 poems. I better get started. The first one is called Nothing's Okay and Everything's Fine. I want to tell you about this afternoon in the yard. My son and I studying the snow, noting where other humans had stepped and where the ground remained untouched. Like a blank sheet of paper, he said, and how he threw a snowball at me hard, his voice cracking when I flinched, and I pictured his spindly body 3 springs ago, crouched by the sycamore, back when I made him wear a mask, even outside, and I knew then he couldn't possibly comprehend what it meant to be a child in the time of plague. I want to tell you how just now, when he flung himself face first onto the frozen ground, I worried about the years he lost and thought of my own childhood, the way it never felt like anywhere was home. And a wildness flew into my throat as his gray figure barreled down the hill, the crimson lining of his jacket hood reminding me of blood, and I knew nothing was okay and everything was fine, and how suddenly it was time for dinner, and I followed him up the steps, clutching his wet, gloved hand. And second one. This is called As Though the Whole Thing Never Happened. Every time I ask my father about his parents, the Holocaust, the old country, the brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, husbands, wives, babies, lost, he says they never talked about the war. But every night his parents fought in Yiddish, the language they never taught him, their coded words sticking to the walls of his home. And he would lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, his Beatles records spinning, spinning louder, louder to obliterate the sounds of their screams. And every morning his father would rise before dawn to push his milk cart up the Haifa hills, to carefully place a fresh jug of milk in front of each sleeping family's door. And his mother would wake at sunrise to cook his father chicken soup, so it would be warm and ready as soon as he walked back through the door.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Wendy. And now we'll go over to Andrea on page 60.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having this. It's wonderful to be here. This poem is for my father, who at age 85 had a traumatic brain injury. He did make it 4 more years with a lot of rehabilitation. But in the beginning, of course, at 85, anyway, waiting beside my father. In the ICU room, 10 days where he coma slept, to rest his brain after the fall, I sat beside him. Inside me, I felt a small carved chapel of patience I didn't know I possessed. I closed my eyes, apologized to my father for years of crabbiness between us. I felt his brain smoothing out its frenzy, as if floating on a long journey, as if a river were carrying us, though I had never learned to swim. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. It's beautiful. And now we'll move over to page 61 with Marin. Is it Marin?
It's Marin.
Marin. All right. I love that.
Yeah, those of you from the Bay Area.
Marin
Hello.
County. Love it.
Not from there, because that would be weird if I was named that and from there, but it's a good mnemonic for people. Thank you so much for having me. I'm just loving hearing you all so much. So this is a piece of creative nonfiction called The Open Heart. Begins with some words from Carl Jung. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. They'll cut my chest down the sternum, my dad said, his voice steady and soft, no different than how he almost always spoke. That's how they'll start. His combed-backed hair was gray now, but I'd always see it, interpret it somehow, as the dark brown, almost black it was when I was born. That evening he was sitting at the kitchen table, his long legs crossed, his olive skin hands stacked on top of his knee, framed in the glow of the kitchen light. He had sorted out this entire open heart surgery business in his head, organized it with the same precision as the pristine slacks that hung in his closet in varying beige hues. My heart's valve flap is flailing. That's what they'll repair, he said, clearing his throat. They'll stop my heart, do the repair, restart my heart, and staple me up. The words staple me up seemed to hang in the brief silence. I sat motionless in my lifelong chair, overgrown and wedged somewhere between the child I'd been and the adult I was, listening to my dad's methodical, confoundingly tranquil cadence of speech. My mom half listened from the sink as she washed a dish. She had already heard this spiel. So, my dad said, This is something he does, says so when he's done speaking. It's percussive, seeming to begin a new thought or pivot to a summarizing statement, but then he stops, as if there's a conclusion to be drawn, but he's either not ready or unwilling to draw it. I sat frozen, yearning for a follow-up phrase like, but it's all very routine, or, but it won't be that bad. He didn't offer one. Okay, I must have said, rounding out the exchange as I imagined, in near panic, my dad's chest, the chest that I slept on as a baby, the chest that, when I was 5, served as the hillside for miniature plastic horses, cut open down the sternum. I pictured him, the guy with the embarrassing pink shorts and the eardrum-ripping sneeze volume, flayed on a silver table. These mental images alone were near unbearable, causing my shoulders to cave forward in my chair as if protecting my own chest. In the silent lamplight, my own heart began to flail, as if casting around for comfort, but no one said anything more. My mom wiped down the counters. I once saw a human heart. It was in college zoology lab during my freshman year. That semester, my lab mates and I dissected a squid, a frog, a worm, and a fish. Because there were only so many specimens to go around, we had to take turns with the knife. While I waited for my turn to slice, I would gaze at the laboratory shelves lined with what Steinbeck once called evil-smelling jars, a menagerie of preserved snakes, rat fetuses, and pickled body parts floating in formaldehyde. The human heart was the only human specimen in the lineup. One afternoon, as my peers hovered around a limp squid, I took a human heart from the shelf. I spun it on the smooth surface of the lab table. The heart bobbed listlessly, its fibers waving like barnacle tongues, lifeless between the leaflets. I was transfixed by it, wondering about its owner, who they were, how they lived, and how their heart got put into a jar. Who knew how long it had been on a dusty laboratory shelf? I had a sad, useless feeling about it, like a retired workaholic with nothing left to sustain. There was a sticker on the jar, human heart, it said, yelling in all caps, followed by the admonishment, do not open. This struck me as funny then. Who would think of hard heart? Decades later, when I taught university students, I understood the need for the explicit command. As I helped my dad prepare for his hospital stay, I kept thinking of the heart in the jar, its warning yelling at me across the years. Do not open, do not open, do not open. I'll stop there.
I love that, Marin. I love the do not open on the jar. Amazing. Okay. I just love how this word talks to each other. So we're going to go to page 66 and hear from Rachel. A couple of her poems.
Hi. Okay, so I'm going to read 2 poems. The first one's called Wild Indigo. When the phone shakes my grandfather from bed, a stranger is saying my brother's name. Do you know where? The fluorescent voice flickers. Peter is? My grandfather's ears fill with the rattle of wild indigo against the brick house I grew up in, the house my brother returned to, the house my father is now entering. In socked feet, he climbs the stairs toward moonlight, combing my brother's room. Bookshelf, desk, twin bed without a body. There's been a car accident, the dispatcher told my grandfather, but Peter's car is in the driveway. Morning arrives, a manila envelope, heavy with recovered possessions. My parents stand together in some bright hallway, debating when to wake me. Who will make the call? Nurses pace around my brother quietly, as though he were a newborn put down to rest. The balloon of his body inflates, deflates. And the second one is called Test Strip for Maximum Black. Once I was my brother's subject. He controlled time, light, moving across my face in steady increments until I was stratified as a riverbank, split by sediment, vulnerable to tides. Noon sun prisms breath, trapped in glass paperweights on the ledge of our father's closet. And I want to be that permeable again. A door, built like most years, in that it can be moved through, re-entered. When I hear our father sob, by instinct I call out, "What's wrong?" Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. It's beautiful. I love the form, and I loved hearing you read it in that form. It's really great. Let's see. We're going to go to page 69 and fiction, 1979 for Maureen.
I just want to say I'm very grateful to be part of this event. So I'm Maureen Hall, and I'm reading from my short story, 1979. It's hard to believe all the shit we were expected to do before cell phones or the internet, like actually talk to people to make an appointment or reservation. And what about term papers or projects? You needed hours in a library, encyclopedias, card catalogs, microfilm, maps. Remember phone books? Scrambling for change to make a call? And that's when you could find a freaking phone booth that worked. People canceled and you didn't know, or they were late and you waited. Say you thought you were pregnant, but you're 18, newbie freshman on campus, hours from your boyfriend, hours from home. Wise enough to bring a couple of pregnancy tests with you to school, ones you made the boyfriend purchase at a drugstore miles from your hometown because, you know, people talk. But this is 1979, and those tests don't work until you're a few weeks along. It's not like today where you blink and find out you're pregnant before you even miss a period, if you're retro enough to still be menstruating. You bury the tests in your underwear drawer at school. You think about hiding them in the closet, but what if your roommate goes looking for a tampon because she forgot to bring any, or maybe she runs out? That's another thing about 1979. Today, people talk about this shit: sex and abortion, mental health, drugs, rape, all of it. Back then, you kept your goddamn mouth shut. Shit was nobody's business. Pregnant girls were labeled ignorant sluts. They certainly didn't stay in college or expect their friends to rally round and donate to the cause. You're not sure yet if your roommate's cool or a raging Pollyanna. She has a, quote, serious, end quote, boyfriend at home, like you. She's white, an education major, like you. But you want to teach high school, or at least middle school, serious shit like English. And she's an early childhood ed, so you suspect she just wants to get married and have babies. Sounds kind of harsh, yeah, but this is 1979. People say harsh shit all the time. They're sexist and racist and ageist and judgy assholes, and there isn't much you can do about it that ever changes anything. You're lying in your respective beds, talking before you fall asleep. Billy Joel's Piano Man playing You're My Home on repeat, which means you actually have to press rewind because playing music is a whole solar system back then. Albums aren't cool and retro like today, when people buy a turntable or a camera that uses film because they think it's artistic and edgy. No, back then, vinyl or tapes are the only game in town, along with 8-track, always a shit show. You're lying there in the dark, sharing secrets, kind of like texting your best friend today in the middle of the night by the warm glow of your phone screen. Your roommate, let's call her Susan. Every class had a Susan or Susie in 1979, as well as a Kathy or Betty or an actual Karen, has already told you her dad is dead. It'll be at least another week before she confides that he shot himself in their basement and her 11-year-old sister found him. You understand everyone has their own life-altering shit, but that's heartbreaking and fucked up any way you look at it. Guns aren't a huge political issue in 1979. You don't personally know anybody who owns one. And even if people have them, it's not like they're shooting up a Walmart, if there even is a Walmart. Susan's father was a cop, and she wasn't home when he did it. You eventually discover these details because you're curious and a little ballsy, and you ask. Thank you. I'll stop there.
Thanks so much, Maureen. 1979, you want to be nostalgic, but you know that we've come such a long way as women. We don't want to go back. So thank you for the reminder. Okay, next we have Tiffany. On page, we're doing a jump up to page 80.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Promise. I'm so happy to be here. This poem is called
the cave-in, the empty. Girl-shaped things guzzle Sylvia Plath's slim fast shakes for breakfast, eat their own fingernails for lunch. Susan Powder's bleach blonde flat top said, fat molecules are as dense as neutron stars and pop with the slightest pressure. Wing finger, marshmallow finger, engagement ring finger too. So consume only cardboard, little baskets of air. Take up less space than Saran, but smile wider than the room. Girl-sized things are full of ghost-shaped holes, oozing ectoplasm instead of yolk. Our fates an almost glugged femoral artery, box cut without care. Counting the I ams till our own endings, a chorus, a prayer. We ever after grieve the never after. The chance for us was a smidge, but anything more than a twisted rib would have been a boon. We're sorry the forget-me-nots didn't bloom this year, that you couldn't please us with your heart and cheese on toast. Girl-shaped things have closetfuls of Ouijas to play like harps. Their sweet dirge swathes our nerves, drowns out the hum of engagement rings, perched hungrily by bathroom sinks. Thank you.
Girl-shaped. Love it. Now we're going to look on the opposite page. Patricia. Patricia here?
I don't think we have Patricia this time.
Okay. Okay, we don't have Patricia. Let's see. Am I off? Am I off by one? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm off by one. I was doing so good. I think Sarah, we weren't sure if Sarah was here. That was what it was. Right? Was Sarah able to make it? Sarah not able to make it. Okay. We're going to go to page 95 with Jessie.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to hear everyone's voices and see their faces. This poem is called My Mother, the Mirror. After the divorce, she shyly stood naked in front of me and said, "How can I show this body to anyone?" And I watched with a curious confusion, wondering how that body that grew me like a hunger could recoil at its own reflection. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Jessie. Camera is up next on page 107. And Brenda, let me know if I'm missing anything.
She was having an unstable connection. I think she had to drop out because she wasn't able to connect.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. So we're gonna go on and Faith, is Faith there for 108, page 108?
I'm here, yes.
Awesome.
Thank you. This poem is called When a Friend Asks Me What It's Like to Be a Mother with Dissociative Identity Disorder. Mostly, it's like I'm the mommy son and they're my baby sons and we're all basking in each other's brilliant light. Mostly, it's like writing a poem and knowing it's your best one yet. But sometimes I look down at the face of my daughter, the bright caterpillar eyes, the synchronized swimmer teeth dancing before me, and I don't know who she is or where her mother has gone. It's like I'm lost in a foreign country, except the country is my own body. I feel so out of place, like a giant foot in a shoe too small. Whom can I ask for directions? Whom can I trust? when I'm a stranger even to myself. Then anaconda panic constricts my body. For a few eternal seconds, I close my eyes and look out for death. That's when I hear her, familiar as home, say, "Mommy, follow my voice, my shining compass, my footed path, my little guidepost leading me back to me." Thank you.
Thanks, Faith. Mommy son. Love it. Next we have Catherine reading her poem. Catherine here on page
Yes.
1.
Yeah. Hi.
There you go. You're in my bottom corner. There you go.
I'm just so moved by tonight's readings. Thank you all, and thank you to CALYX for including me in this very fine issue. My poem references a string quartet by Beethoven. After recovering from an illness so severe he thought he would die, Beethoven wrote Song of Thanksgiving to the Deity by a Convalescent. My father listened to this piece frequently in his final year. New Year's Eve fog, 6 a.m. When I was 17, my father drove us through haze so thick we couldn't see beyond 20 feet. He tucked our Peugeot behind an 18-wheeler. Its taillights guided us on switchbacks, between guardrails. I was scared the car would plunge over the edge, down a sinkhole, into some caldera hollow. My father told me he was afraid, too. In the previous year, he had worn out the grooves on his LP of Beethoven's Late Quartet, Opus 132, Third Movement, Song of Thanksgiving to the Deity by a Convalescent. Molto Adagio. 16 days after that harrowing car trip, my father died. In some other calendar, would he still exist? Or did he merely disappear in those days eternally lost in the switch from Julian to Gregorian? My sin this morning, despair. I smelled his cigarette smoke in the fog. Thank you.
Molto adagio. Thanks, Catherine. Okay, we are going to turn the page now for Brittany to read.
Hi, I'm Brittany. I'm really grateful to be here, and this has been really wonderful, so thank you. I'm going to be reading a page or so from my short story. It's called Border Crossings. Miriam's problem with her husband started innocently enough, with coffee. Jerry drank too much of it. It wasn't so much his shaking hands, his irritability, or the sleepless nights away from their bed that bothered her. Mostly it was the waste of it all. Sorry, Earth, she'd say whenever she opened the door of their coastal blue Subaru sedan. Stained styrofoam cups littered the passenger side floor, spilled out of cup holders, collected in stacks between the seats. The Subaru was nearly new, shiny and gleaming on the exterior, but inside it was a dump. Are you actively trying to destroy the planet? She'd asked him more than once. But she never mentioned the expense, presumably considerable at this rate, though of course that weighed on her too. Despite a very egalitarian marriage, Jerry was technically the breadwinner. Miriam thought she might bring up the issue of expense later, once she got on track with her personal wellness business, started to actually see a profit from the investment she'd supposedly been making in herself. She was selling shampoo these days, part-time. Of course, it was more than just shampoo. It's a lifestyle, Tanya, her market mentor and former meditation coach, reminded her. You're selling yourself. When Jerry promised to carry a reusable mug, Miriam resolved to drop the issue. But Miriam had a hard time sticking to her convictions. Her willpower was a choking, hollow thing. She couldn't stop drinking, for example. Couldn't resist a glass of wine to relax, a glass to pair with dinner, another to fall asleep, even though her husband was a rehab counselor. even though she suspected she might have a problem. At least Jerry's newfound beverage habit evened the score. But she found the suddenness of his transformation unsettling. He went out most evenings, and on weekends too. One Saturday night, Miriam sat alone at the kitchen counter, swirling the residue from another glass of wine. Jerry never drank with her, hardly ever touched the stuff on account of his profession. "You're obsessed," she said over her shoulder. "I thought you hated coffee." It was already 8, and Jerry was reaching for his coat. "Blame it on the baby," he said with a receding smile. Their daughter Roxy, 15 months old now, had never been much of a sleeper. Miriam swiveled in her chair to face him. "Why can't you make coffee at home like a normal person?" "You know why, Miriam," Jerry said, staring at his reflection in the entryway mirror. "I don't like the taste. I can only stomach the girly stuff." "I thought you were cutting back on sugar." He didn't respond, just shot her a stony look through the mirror. "This is above your pay grade." There was something unsettling about the way his eyes blinked back at her, glassy and defiant, as he gathered his keys and left. Thank you.
Thank you, Brittany. It's great. It's great. I get so absorbed in these stories. I just love hearing everybody's voice. It's great to hear them again in your voice instead of mine, you know. I love it. Okay, next we have Kimberly Ann on page 123.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be with you. This is my first poem in CALYX. So I'm going to let you guys celebrate with me a little. I'm going to read my poem, What People See, but I have just learned this week that this poem is part of a manuscript titled Gaslight, and Texas Review Press is going to publish Gaslight in 2027. So
Yay! Gaslight, I love that.
So now
I love it. You put the link in the chat when you're done, okay? All right, when we're
well,
done. Okay.
it won't be out till 2027, so we have
we'll be
we have a
around.
long time. I just learned the news. So okay, so here's the poem. What People See. An awkward yawn, the exaggerated blankness of my stare when someone is smiling back at me. Body language, too much eye makeup today, tomorrow, not enough. Me sitting down when everyone else is standing up, me asking to sit down when everyone else is standing up, me begging to sit down when everyone else is standing up, doodling in church, not listening, too much lipstick today, tomorrow, not enough, a rude yawn, a rude blank stare when someone is smiling back at me, rude body language, too much foundation makeup today, tomorrow, a need for a lighter shade, terrible cooking, really terrible cooking that must be spewed out of the mouth and thrown away, lint in the carpet that indicates I am not vacuuming well enough, that I'm not vacuuming well enough, that the vacuum cleaner is not even being used correctly, that I don't know how to vacuum, that there's a stain on your shirt after I washed it, and this brings up questions concerning whether or not I even know how to wash shirts correctly, that Sunday morning is not the time to have to deal with my mistakes, that all of this will have to be remedied after church, that I seem to need a haircut, that I use too much hairspray today, split ends, body language, that I look better with long hair than short hair, but the split ends are split quite a ways up, doodling at breakfast, that I didn't eat enough at breakfast, that I didn't say thank you after your mother made us breakfast because the breakfast I cooked wasn't good enough, the blank stare I give you in front of everyone, that this is quite embarrassing, that I finally said thank you after church, thank you, too much mascara today, or maybe the tube I am using is getting old and needs to be replaced, that my 3-inch heeled shoes are ridiculous, so maybe I should never wear them again, body language, a confused blank stare, a misappropriated yawn, how manipulative I am while everyone is standing up, can I please sit down, the look you give me at church, the very expressive look you give me to show me how deeply concerned and exhausted you are, everyone sees it, not enough breakfast, too much makeup, the way I stand up slowly, smiling and singing the hymns like a good wife, the good wife I'm trying extra hard to be.
You go, girl. Gaslight. Coming to you guys in 2027. Thanks, Kimberly. Okay. Let's see. We're going to move to Louisa now on page 124, who has a couple, one poem for us.
Hi, everyone. I'm Louisa, and it's so great to be here. I think especially these days, all of this is so important. I'm going to read my poem called In Lieu of Flowers. In lieu of flowers. I don't attend service or reception, but bookmark the online obit. Imagine his kin clustered in a church I long abandoned, that abandoned me. My faith now seeds poetry and perennials. New carpet smell still lands me in the room where I learned that being good is no shield against the devil you know, the one who drives his girls and me to the mall. Silver-tongued and templed, he crooks my memory, warps reality. I impose my own penance, swallow the blame. Shame metabolized into relentless striving, perfection's pursuit. In lieu of flowers, I draw the blinds, call in sick, dance. Memory salts from my pores. I loosen in the tub, sip bourbon, choose Rich, Clifton, and Vaughn. I vow to learn the stages of the crocus, commit the heresy of rest. I burn votives, balm my body, rosemary and sage. Assemble from shrapnel a robe of tenderness. Thank you.
Beautiful. In lieu of flowers. Love it. And next up we have Penelope on page 126 and 127.
I'm really happy to be in CALYX for the first time ever. And I also, I love this issue. I've enjoyed reading your words, and it's great to hear you out loud. So I'll read the two poems. The first one is called The Apple Tree at Dorland. Wind swept through the dry bowl of chaparral, the rickety cabins. Wind stirred leaves of the apple tree that somehow thrived under the oaks. In 50 years it made no apples we could eat, but the deer enjoyed its sour and wormy fruit, and the fire loved it, ate it like it ate all the poems and paintings, the photographs and books. The second poem is Praise Song for the Body. Praise to this body, which has lasted many years and still moves lively through the world. Praise to the long toes that move apart and the small toes that crowd together, ask for looser socks. Praise to the calves still shapely after almost 7 decades, which call with singing twinges when they want banana. Praise to the faded scars of face, chest, back, evidence that adolescence lasted 30 years. Praise to the small bulge of belly, which proclaims a love of food. Praise to the pale maroon spider veins on thighs. Praise to the scarred knees, the cellulite, the drooping ass. Praise to the desiccated chicken fat of upper arms. Praise to the faded pink nipples of tits that stayed so small gravity gave up. Praise to the wrinkled neck the pudgy jaw. Praise to the curious indentations just above the groin, pointing toward the unopened door of womb. Praise to the clit and vagina that so loved tongue and cough, but learned to live without them. Praise to the eyes that wept as loved ones died, but still see much to praise.
So much to praise. Thanks, Penelope. That's beautiful to think about our bodies in a different way. I love it. And I think we're going to have Patricia wrap us up. Is that right, Brenna? Or do we have?
Unless Sarah Moore Wagner joined us in the last few minutes, I think Patricia will be the last one.
Okay. Patricia, we're going to go to page 128.
Okay. I have something. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm actually going to read the end of this piece rather than the beginning. And I'm Patricia. I'm reading from Seattle. I too am really grateful to be here. I love hearing all these different pieces. It's been a thrill. And Brenna, you were great to work with. She's the main person that I've had contact with. This is a story I wrote about getting a pacemaker that I didn't believe I needed and was called in sort of on an emergency basis. So the whole thing was twisted and confusing and troublesome as it put me up against aging and life and death. So I'm on page 137 and I'm just waking up from the surgery. And during this time, I sing in a choir and I also was learning Rachmaninoff Vespers for a chorus coming up. So that music was going through my head. I have bad allergies right now, so I apologize for that. You can't get the third movement, blessed is the man, out of your head. Alleluia. These melodies are ancient Slavic folk tunes, and Rachmaninoff draped them in lush harmonies. Before Orthodoxy, these folk tunes were sacred. When you sing them, you feel holy. You've ignored your heart. You've simply pushed. Now it's assisted. Will the assistant help you pay attention? Keep a good heart? The morphine makes you voluble, and you tell every attendant the story, how you can't believe it, such a fluke that they caught it. And all the tender attendants tell you what a good patient you are. Number 19, University Medical Center Cardiology. Next morning, a doc pod strides in, leonine head of cardiology, track star cardiologist, horn-rimmed electrophysiologist, delicate Dr. P, and followers. Dr. P brandishes pink paper. Look, your heart did it during the night and the pacemaker kicked in. See? Head of cardiology remarks upon the 4 seconds, implying that something should have been done sooner. Then he fixes his Irish eyes on you. Questions? You ask why your AV node suddenly stopped transmitting. He'd guess it was congenital, just didn't show up until now. As you get older, your cells degrade. Older? Degrade? You eat right, exercise, get enough rest, you always have, and still you degrade? But there's no heart disease in your family. He says you don't have heart disease. You knew it. You have an electrical problem, and they had just the thing to fix it. Number 20, the future. At follow-up, Dr. W will tell you that as long as you're resuscitated after cardiac arrest, you should live a long, normal life. You will not ask why you might have cardiac arrest. You will not ask how likely it is that you might have cardiac arrest. Can a simple electrical problem cause cardiac arrest? You will decide you have no need to know. What difference does it make? Seriously, it's out of your hands. It's none of your business. 10 days later, the choir will perform Rachmaninoff. You will move gingerly. You will feel the weight of the music in your chest. You all, including Alpha Alto Deb, will sing like angels. Those gorgeous alto melodies will make people weep. And for a while, your heartbeats will remind you, thanks for music. Thanks for birds. Thanks for China blues, white coats, attendants, techs and witches. Thanks for everything.
Thank you for sharing your heart story.
Yeah.
And thank you. That's everyone. And it was beautiful. It was wonderful. I loved hearing everyone. And thank you is just the place to end. I mean, thank you for your voices. Thank you for joining the first CALYX Live. It was just amazing to hear my issue alive. Honestly, I just love it. And I think we should do it again. What do you guys think? Should we?
Yeah.
Okay. Well then Brenna, Palmer, and I will work towards doing this for volume. This is volume 35, number 1. We'll do it again, Brenna.
Do it again.
Another super wonderful, amazing, awesome, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious issue.
Jeannie, did you want to try and get a picture?
Yeah, can we try to get a picture of everybody? How do we do that? Can you do it?
I think we leave it to Palmer.
I got it. And I want to thank everyone who's hanging on from the central and east.
Yeah.
It's getting late for you, so just one more thing, and then sweet dreams to everyone. Okay, so smiles, waves, gestures, whatever you like to do, and go, and one more, and go. Oh my gosh, the beauty.
Thank you,
guys
everyone.
are wonderful. It's wonderful.
This was a very long process. These pieces were sent to us in, I think, 2023, and we chose them in 2024, and they were published in 2025. And I just really appreciate all of the patience that everybody had with our timeline. And I think we ended up with something really beautiful, and it was incredible to hear it spoken aloud today. Thank you all so much.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Terrific. Amazing. I feel inspired. Need it. Love you guys. Love you all. Love it. Thank you. Keep writing. Keep finding her stories. Keep being that voice in the world we need to be as women. We need it. Love you guys.